So my name's Emily. I have one child, a little girl called Jean, and I am still breastfeeding her, which was not part of the plan. I think breastfeeding was much harder than the pregnancy, than labour even. It was tough going, but also just the most incredible experience that she loves. I love that time together. I just don't know when it will stop, really. I've had issues with mental health, and was seeing a perinatal mental health counsellor after the birth. And I think maybe because the way it manifested with me, with sort of anxiety and maybe elements of OCD, the fact that I was breastfeeding, that was something that, although it wasn't perfect and it hurt and I was kind of powering through, it was working. That was something that, naturally I could do. Like, my brain and my mental health might be sort of not wired correctly, in this moment, but at least my boobs were working, and that gave me strength. There's so many different routes and stories, and whether you're depressed, to add the breastfeeding on top of that, it's a lot. When I first started, when Jean was first born, those times when I was feeding in the middle of the night, or any time on maternity leave, I didn't do NCT, so my maternity leave was a really lonely time. So I'd be on my phone, she'd be feeding, I'd be on my phone or playing Scrabble or social media or whatever. And then it got to the point where talking to my therapist, talking about mindfulness and being present, and I just have never once looked at my phone since then. Even if it's just for 20 minutes or 5 minutes, it's like, that is time when I am being a mother. And no one in the world has that time with her. And it's really sort of struck me recently, I think, in lockdown, because she feeds in the morning when she wakes up. To have that time, and I spend that time talking to her about how much I love her, or memories from when she was little, when I was pregnant, when she was in my tummy. Because if she is going to be my only baby, then I don't know, I'm getting all emotional. I just want to remember it. I don't want to be scrolling through my phone instead of having that time with her. Although there wasn't really a set plan. I was always planning to try breastfeeding. My close circle of friends, everyone had an absolute nightmare with tongue ties, hospitalization, not making, gaining enough weight, just lots of problems, and tended to stop after a couple of weeks or a month or so. So I said, well, I'm going to try it, because why not? That's what you're supposed to do. And I'll stop 6 months when they start to eat solid food, they get teeth. I'll stop then. But my daughter didn't get teeth until she was 14 months old. So we just kept going, and it was the hardest thing. The only sort of knowledge I had was what my friends had told me. I was breastfed, my partner was breastfed. But my mum wasn't breastfed. And I remember her telling me that her mum kind of was a bit sort of prudish about it, or because she was born in the 50s, when there was this sort of, development of formula and, convenience, and you don't need to breastfeed because you can get everything you need from the formula. Whereas mum was very much like, you're going to have breast milk, she always talks about how she would make ice cream so that we didn't have any E numbers and this kind of thing. She wanted a more natural Whereas I was, well, I'm going to try, but I don't think it will work because it doesn't seem to work for people I know. So I work at a university in research, in project management and research support, and the centre that I was in was very much about sustainability, but they were very much like breastfeeding. The breastfeeding, is it okay if I breastfeed in the meetings? Which some people were like, well, like you can't do that. But why can't you do that? You know? So I think some people it is part of the plan, and yeah, it's just depending on what your background is, maybe your values in other areas. I took Jean to a breastfeeding support meeting, like at a local school, when she was 2 weeks old, because I had heard, I can't remember if this was, oh, my friend had told me, and she had had a lot of trouble, that she was told if you have pain at all when you breastfeed, then something's wrong, like the latch is wrong, or you know the position is wrong. So because it obviously hurt, I thought, well, I must be doing it wrong. So um, I went along when Jean was 2 weeks old and got some advice about positions, and but it still hurt, you know, to the point where I was crying when she was latching. So maybe she didn't have a good latch, but she was gaining weight. There was never any issue about that, and she was, you know, we were going for quite a long time and regularly. It settled her. So I kind of took advice from lots of different places, the Leche League, uh, the National Breastfeeding Association, or whatever it's called, and kind of pieced it together and followed basically what I felt fitted with maybe my instincts, and what suited me as well. I was given covers to use. My friend, who always covered up with would cover her baby completely with, and then there was one that you put around yourself like a sling kind of thing. But I just found them all so awkward that I just kind of would have a jumper with a vest, and I'd pull the vest down and lift the jumper up or whatever, and I would just do it. I didn't, yeah, it didn't bother me at all. And people would leave the room, and I was like, no, you don't. It's fine. You can be here. Don't, because I didn't want them to be embarrassed. I suppose I was trying to make it normal through some of the things that I follow on Instagram, like the normalized breastfeeding and drop the cover. And I suppose I felt because I was, it's almost like it happened to me, breastfeeding, you know, and so I wasn't equipped to deal with it, but I was doing it. And if I was out and about in a cafe and people would see me and think, okay, well, you know, it's normal then, it's okay, it's accepted, then that was almost like I had a duty. I would say that it is like absolutely your choice, and it's if you're if it's easy, then you're lucky. I don't think it. I don't think it. It's really hard without having thought this through. I mean, even to the point where you know you get to 3 months, say, and they say that you should be like it's embedded now, everything's fine. Even then, at 3 months, I had got mastitis and thrush, you know, and you think, well, I've got to 3 months, so it's sorted, but it's not. It's never sorted. So if it's something that you think would benefit you or your baby, then have a go. But you know, the most important thing is your well-being and your child's well-being. So don't destroy yourself trying to breastfeed when there are perfectly good alternatives. I didn't realize how rare it is to breastfeed really in this country, certainly for this amount of time. So, you know, I wish I'd have known the things that I know now before she was born. And helps people, give them confidence, you know, I think that's really important because it is such a wonderful thing.